Mr. Goncharov, ESG is becoming more and more a focus also in emerging market and in emerging debt markets. Now, what happens to companies that are laggards in ESG but still have great potential to improve? What can investors do?
I think it's very important to focus on the progress and the evolution, especially when such a sensitive topic as ESG comes into mind, because when companies are at a relatively low level of their ESG performance, but they are making a very serious effort, I think they do deserve to be encouraged for that, and therefore their assets should not be completely excluded. Of course, as soon as the certain threshold of quality is achieved, but I think the progress should be encouraged, and therefore I think these companies do deserve to be in the investment universe and be invested in as long as they do make a credible progress.
To do meaningful ESG investing, you have to rely on data, which is more a problem to receive in emerging markets than in more developed markets. How do you deal with that issue?
I agree. I think the data quality is indeed one of the largest topics here, and one of the largest, if not the largest issue, especially in the emerging markets. And I think it's very important, therefore, to complement the analysis, the top-down analysis that external providers or your own analysts are doing with the bottom-up analysis of certain specific issuers, and asking the right questions directly to the companies and to the sovereign issuers can actually clarify a lot of points and can add a lot of additional data to your analysis that could complement not only your ESG analysis but also broader credit analysis. So I think it's very important to focus on the data, and it can definitely help us identify the right investments.
Now the question is, does ESG improve performance in emerging market debt?
I would say yes. It's very important to focus, of course, on the risk-adjusted performance because that is longer term actually the goal. So not only the returns but also the volatility is of high importance for us. And I'd say that if volatility is lower in such investments, and by definition you want to be less risk, more risk averse, less risk taking, you can improve your risk-adjusted performance sometimes quite substantially.
Now, from your experience and perspective, I mean, ESG is more prevalent in emerging market than in developed markets. But where do you see the main issues? Is it more in the E, in the S, or in the G, the governance?
I'd say by definition, emerging markets are those countries where probably the politics or the governance are more of an issue, at least as compared to the developed world markets. But of course, lately, environment has come to the fore as well, and many of the emerging countries do have certain gaps in their addressing of environmental progress. And so I would say it's coincidental that environment is also where they have further to go and progress compared to developed world. But by definition, indeed, governance is probably the biggest issue or the defining issue of emerging market country. And social, of course, is where we do want to focus as well. So in certain combination, all three, with the governance being probably of the utmost and foremost importance.
Do you have a list of forerunners in ESG in emerging markets and countries that lag behind?
I would say the countries with the long credentials in terms of political transition to a sustainable and developed model with long-standing democratic institutions. Those come to mind, such as Uruguay or South Korea or Singapore, of course, which are arguably to some may even be considered as developed markets. At the same time, we do see quite a decent progress more recently in countries across the globe in different aspects. Also in Africa, in Latin America, as counterintuitively as that might sound. But indeed, there are certain leaders that appear there every year. So I think it's very good progress. And in certain areas, I would say some countries do bigger progress than others.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goncharov.
Thank you.